Hello and welcome to Swipe. Coming up, the online Big Bang. We take a look at how the digital universe is expanding. Keeping connected, we've a dummy's guide to some of the latest smart tech. The butterfly effect, we're getting in a flap over recycled robot insects. Plus, ghostly mysteries and murderous worms on this week's Games Review. From wireless technology to smart devices, given how connected we are these days, it's hardly surprising to hear that we all generate a lot of data. The number of things we own which can be synced up to the internet is nearly 200 billion. And according to one new study, by 2020, the digital universe will be almost 10 times the size of what it is now. It's growing at an astounding pace. Can we keep up? Katie Spencer's been trying.
Tapping on any one of these services brings up the sky on my screen and then allows me to control it as I would using a normal remote control.
Connected and intelligent. At Finite Solutions Smart Home in Leeds, visitors are invited to get a feel of where our houses are heading. From automated blinds to hidden cinemas, machine that can speak to machine, with the controls already in our hands.
We have a computer storing all of our media, music, videos, all of our photographs, moving down to CCTV, below that Sonos, which is a streaming music service, and below that amplification, which is powering the speakers in the various rooms of the house. The key to making any good smart home work is these racks.
It's estimated there are around 14 billion devices already connected and communicating over the internet. That's just 7% of what could be up and running online. At the moment, the amount of information in our digital universe could fill a stack of iPad Air tablets that would reach almost 2/3 of the way to the moon as we get through 4.4 trillion gigabytes of data. But in just 6 years' time, it'll be around 10 times bigger, and the information could fill just over 6.5 stacks to the moon as our data usage soars to 44 trillion gigabytes. Figures so vast, it can be difficult to comprehend. But as streams of data become larger, that also presents bigger challenges. Step inside the London offices of big data experts EMC, and you can hear the buzz of what the tiniest fraction of that data sounds like. High-capacity drives like these will play an essential role in managing and securely storing a business's data.
Organisations are going to have to do probably three things significantly differently. They will need to use different technologies, predominantly software-based, that will automate many of the things they've done in the past. Secondly, they'll have to have different policies, governance around things like security. We predict something like a 30% increase in the number of IT people required.
Monitoring and protecting our houses through connected technology should make it easier to keep the burglars at bay. But if everything we use is up online, will it leave us vulnerable to cyber attacks?
It would be very hard to hack into the systems because you not only would have to be a computer hacker, you would also have to be able to program the bespoke control systems that we use to actually have access into a client's house. So it is a valid concern, but I don't think it's something that 99.9% of residential homeowners would actually need to worry about.
How much data we use has rocketed as a result of smartphones and tablets, but with connectivity in the home set to become an integral part of how we live, our digital needs are likely to explode. Katie Spencer, Sky News.
You're watching Swipe. Coming up, the robot butterflies which could teach us a thing or two about recycling. But first, given how vast our wireless world is becoming, we thought we'd check out some of the very latest digital devices that are designed to make our lives easier. Jeremy White from Wired magazine is certainly no dummy when it comes to smart tech, so we asked him to take us through a few.
So the iGrill 2, is basically some sort of smart device that you can plug into your iPhone or any other smartphone. And what it essentially allows you to do is monitor what's on the grill from your mobile phone. When the meat reaches the temperature that you set it to, the phone gets sent an alert from the iGrill 2 letting you know that everything's okay, now's the time to finish cooking, so you won't end up with a steak like old leather. There's not much to not like about it. It's apart from the cost. It's not cheap. It's about $100. for something that really only has one use. And also I would have liked to have seen this have rechargeable batteries rather than just standard AA batteries. So the Canary is 6 inches high and looks like a small cylinder with a black centre stripe, and it is essentially your home security device. It's got an HD camera, high quality microphone, temperature sensors, night vision, movement detectors. It's even got a siren built into it as well as a speaker. And when it sets off an alarm or an alert, it sends you a text message or alert on your phone saying something's happening which I wouldn't expect to happen. Do you want to do anything about it? It's tremendously useful, and one of the other great things about it is there's no wires involved. It literally just plug and play, just put it in the house and you're off and running. The only problem with the Canary is that it's actually taken a great deal of time to get to market. We've been waiting and waiting and waiting for it to arrive, and at the moment obviously it'll be only available in the US, but it will come to the UK, so I'm told. So next we have the Parrot Flower Power to bring out your inner hippie. It is a connected smart device that allows you to monitor how happy or how sad your plants are. It is Bluetooth connected, not Wi-Fi, so you need to be reasonably nearby to the device for it to actually work and communicate with your smart device. Prongs that you place into the soil measure temperature of the soil, measure how hydrated the soil is, also levels of fertilization as well. So you get these alerts from your plant, and you can name your plants. So I've named mine Stanley, and Stanley sends me text messages saying I'm thirsty or I'm hungry. And so if you're useless in the garden and don't have any green fingers whatsoever, like me, it is almost like a sort of first aid for those plants. The Latka is a personal environment monitor. So these are a series of little devices, very nicely designed, I must say, that connect up to your iPhone and Android devices as well, and monitor the environment around you. It's as simple as that. There's a Geiger counter, there's a radiation counter there, there's a humidity and temperature sensor in there too, one for measuring electromagnetic fields. It's always nice to know about the quality of air and what's around you, and so it's a nice idea, executed well. It's just a matter of how much use you'll get out of this device.
You're watching Swipe. Coming up, why America's Secret Service won't help sorting out the sarcasm. But first, chances are you've got at least one old mobile phone in a drawer or cupboard somewhere at home. But what to do with it? How about building something new out of your old technology? Stuart Duggan's been taking a look at a group of designers who are taking recycling to the extreme.
They're beautiful, inventive and kind of scary. These 4 digital butterflies are made entirely from old mobile phones. The insects were created by a team of designers to encourage us to recycle our old devices.
We thought it was a fun way to take these things that otherwise would just go in the bin and make something beautiful and playful, hopefully.
Hardware from a range of phones has been used, and you'll see different parts here: screens, SIM cards, circuit boards and complete handsets. They took more than 7 months to build, but will the message get through?
The main problem in a phone is the battery, and one battery from a mobile phone, if it ends up in the wrong place, can pollute 600,000 litres of water. So it is a really important issue to get mobile phones recycled when they do get to the end of their lives.
The butterflies can all be called and have a unique reaction based on the phone number of the person who's ringing them. Each one is modelled on a different species.
There are really wildly ranging colours and patterns on butterflies' wings, and so some of the guys that I work with wrote some software that would take people's phone number and use that as a seed to generate these wing patterns. So we designed some visual frameworks, and then the number decides how wide a line is or how large a circle is.
Whatever you think of these robotic insects, they're certainly an interesting way of encouraging people to recycle their old tech. They were first shown off at the Natural History Museum in London and will also go on display at the O2 Arena in the summer. Stuart Duggan, Sky News.
You're watching Swipe. Coming up, the worms return in this week's Games Review. But first, here's a roundup of anything you might have missed over the last few days. Apple's revealed new iPhone and iPad features to help people monitor their homes and their health. The tech giant made the unveiling at its annual Worldwide Developers Conference in San Francisco. It showed off a new software for Macs called Yosemite and its iOS 8 operating system, both of which are designed to make it easier for users to search and share content. The software will come out in the autumn. That's when the iPhone 6 is rumoured to be launched.
Pretty much anything that you can think of that you can stick an Apple in front of, there's always a rumour. And then whenever that happens, we normally come away slightly disappointed because all the hype and speculation just passes out to realisation and reality. Apple normally launched the iPhone 6 in around about the September timeframe. There's obviously promises of new iPads as well. The iPhone 6, interestingly, the latest rumour is that it will feature a bigger screen after Apple seemed to be sort of slow to adopt the larger screens that most of its other competitors like Samsung and HTC have for quite some time now.
Twitter wouldn't be Twitter without the endless stream of sarcastic tweets. But it would seem the US Secret Service need a little bit of help working out what's supposed to be funny. It's put out a working tender for someone to create a special system that can help them sort through large sets of social media data. It wants a program to, and I quote here, detect sarcasm and false positives. We could soon be able to use bitcoins to pay for purchases on the App Store. Apple has changed its stance on virtual currencies for the first time. Up until now, they've been banned on the company's devices. However, Google's platform, Android, already accepts digital money. The crowdfunding site Kickstarter is relaxing its rules. A ban on health products, cosmetics, eyewear and electronic surveillance equipment has been lifted. It says the move is to make things simpler, but it'll also help when it comes to keeping up with the rivals like Indiegogo. And finally, want to know the secret to making a perfect cup of coffee? Well, a chemist at the University of Bath has been using a supercomputer to work out how to get the best taste from your hit of caffeine. Apparently, it all comes down to how ions in the water interact with the chemicals that give coffee its flavour. The best results come from using a reasonably hard tap water with high magnesium levels, which can increase the extraction of the coffee into water. So, now you know. On this week's Games Review, we've a ghostly mystery to solve, comic fables come to life and murderous worms. So who better to take us through that eclectic mix than the gaming expert, Lucy James.
So it's a pretty slow time in the games industry at the moment. Everyone's gearing up for E3, so there's not that many titles out, but there is one called Murdered Soul Suspect, so published by Square Enix and created by Airtight Games. It's quite an interesting take on a murder mystery in that you're solving your own murder.
911, what's your emergency?
So you play as, this reformed cop. He's called Ronan O'Connor, great name, and he gets killed at the very beginning of the game, and he comes back as a ghost because he's got unfinished business, and he has to solve his own murder. So it's quite cool in that as a ghost, he has these abilities. So he can teleport, he can possess people. There are loads of ghosts walking around, you can talk to them all. And so it's kind of, this little bit of past and present. In terms of the story, there's a lot of twists and turns. You're after this bell killer guy who keeps preying on younger women, and it's all a bit. So it's quite cool, and it's quite slow paced, and you get into it. But there are some pretty daft decisions, there's demons in it. They don't really need to be there. It's quite fun, and it'll get you thinking as well, because there are a lot of twists and turns to it. So that's Murdered Soul Suspect. So The Wolf Among Us is an episodic series by Telltale Games, and it's based on the Fables comic book series, which is basically about fairy tale creatures who are forced from their homeland by the adversary, and they're forced to live in a borough of New York, this rundown borough called Fabletown.
We need to solve this before something else happens.
The big overarching story is that someone is murdering Fabletown citizens, and as Bigby, you're trying to solve these murders. And of course, nothing's as it seems because there is this element of magic involved. In terms of gameplay, there's not that much. You wander around a little bit, you look at some things, and but it's mostly about these conversations, and you can shape your Bigby into how you want him to play out. So he does have this gruff exterior and this kind of dark past, but as Bigby you can choose whether to be a nice kind of Bigby who's searching for redemption, or you can be just this hard ass who's gonna go in there and do whatever it takes to get the answers. And so episode 4 is great. It's quite short as well, but there's 4 episodes so far. You can play through it in like an afternoon, but it's getting me really excited for the finale. So what can you say about Worms? It's an ongoing game series. Pretty much everyone's played Worms. You take on a team of 5 worms and you're against another 5, and you use all this manner of crazy, it's turn-based, so you use all these crazy weaponry to try and kill all your opponent's worms. And it's made by British developer Team 17, who I think are one of the longest running independent developers worldwide, which is really cool, and they're based up north. And Worms Battlegrounds is Worms on next-gen consoles, so it's, obviously it's got that next-gen sheen and everything, but it's kind of the most complete Worms game so far, in that you can customize all your characters, not just the names, you can customize what they look like. There's all these great set pieces, and of course there are all these wacky weapons, so you've got like winged monkeys and the whoopsie cushion, all this kind of stuff, and it's just this great turn-based gameplay, and it's a Worms game. But it's kind of nice to support British developers like that, and who doesn't enjoy a game of Worms? Get your friends around, pass the controller. So that's Worms Battlegrounds.
Toodaloo.
Thanks, Lucy. That's it for this week. Remember, you can catch up with the breaking tech stories all week on Sky News for iPad, our smartphone apps, and of course, skynews.com. See you next time.